Hello and welcome. You are at Attract More Abundance Now, and we're going to talk about the quantum physics and the neuroscience around how to manifest more money. And specifically, we're going to look through the lens of what is currently blocking us from manifesting money. How do we get there? I'm going to teach you the four-step process on how to start manifesting. And then if you want to learn more, there'll be an invitation at the end on how you can dive in to learn even more about this content. So, a little bit about me, if you don't know me well, my name is Kitty Coy. I am an actual neuroscientist. My degree is in neuroscience. I graduated from CU Boulder. And actually, my degree is I have a master's degree in integrative physiology, study of the body, a bachelor's degree in psychology, study of the mind. And then the whole time I did those concurrently, a BA MA program. And then the whole time I did a minor in neuroscience. And so I am a behavioral neurophysiologist, which is a fancy way to say I studied how the structure of your brain affects your behavior and how your behavior actually changes and affects the structure of your brain. I'm published in 9 peer-reviewed scientific publications, such as Neuroscience, the European Journal of Neuroscience, all the most prolific neuroscience journals. I'm published in each and every one of them for my 10 years as a researcher. And after 10 years in neuroscience, and once you get to know my energy or my personality a little bit, you wouldn't be like, yeah, she's a neuroscientist. I didn't fit in, to be honest with you. I am far too friendly and energetic and outgoing. And I love, but I stayed in neuroscience for so long because I'm so passionate about it and it's so cool. And I really got into it because the brain, the body, and the mind, how they interact and affect each other is magic. So it's things like the placebo effect and how you can talk yourself in and out of getting sick was always really fascinating to me from a very young age. So that's why I got into neuroscience. I stayed because it's amazing, fascinating, and interesting. And about 8 years ago, I took a pivot and I left research and I became a coach. And I am a magnetic mind coach. Specifically, I help driven female entrepreneurs get crystal clear in what they want, which is surprisingly actually the hardest part of my job. But you're going to learn today why that's the hardest part of my job, because I guarantee almost everything you want is actually not what you really want. And you'll learn more later. But get crystal clear in what you want. I teach them the habits and the behaviors that they can do that increase their ability to manifest. And then I use neuroscience to release the resistance, which is fear, self doubt, procrastination, unworthiness, whatever roadblocks they come across in their manifestation journey. I use neuroscience to release them so they can get into action. Because when you do those 4 steps, your mind becomes a magnet for whatever you visualize and whatever you desire. And good or bad, because right now you are already manifesting. It's just sometimes you're manifesting your wildest dreams and sometimes you're manifesting your worst nightmares. So, anyways, that is what I do as a coach. I'm certified in meditation, mindset, NLP, superconscious recoding, which is simply to say I'm highly qualified to talk about this subject, and in both the quantum physics and the neuroscience sides of this. And I am also qualified to talk about this because I am a manifesting machine. And I really understood the depths of how good I am at manifesting in 2018. I went to a home expo and ended up winning an all-inclusive paid vacation trip to Mexico for a week, and 1 in 20,000 people won, and it was me. And that year, I manifested 6 other free vacations in 1 year for a total of 7 totally free vacations. And that's when I came up with this 4-step process that I'm going to teach you today on how to be a manifesting machine. So I'm a manifesting machine, but surprise, you're already a manifesting machine too. It's just, like I said, sometimes you're manifesting your wildest dreams and sometimes you're manifesting your worst nightmares. So when you are consciously creating the world you want to live in and you acknowledge that you are a manifesting machine and you know how to do it, you know how to reverse engineer and basically be like, oh, I'm currently manifesting my worst nightmare. How do I stop that, shift, and start manifesting my wildest dreams? That is what I teach people, and we use neuroscience to do. So, if that sounds like something you're excited about, you are in the right place. So, just to start us off on the same page, I want to share what I'm talking about when I say manifesting. It is simply focusing on something, creating an image or a picture or a description in your mind of something you want to create in the 3D world, turning your thoughts into things. And I love this Albert Einstein quote, which says, everything is energy and that's all there is to it. All you need to do is match the frequency of the reality you want to create, and you cannot help but create it. There can be no other way. This is not a philosophy. This is quantum physics. So, the number one myth we face around manifesting is part of the reason we get so hung up around money, and it's propagated. There's Rhonda Byrne wrote the book The Secret, which was turned into a movie. And in the book, she hinted at this, but she didn't explicitly state that there's a whole other step she didn't talk about when it comes to manifesting. But when that book and that movie became super popular, it created this popular or this idea in the media that all you need to do is think positive thoughts and positive things will come into your life. And while that's true to some extent, it is not the whole truth of how you manifest. And it really puts you in the place where you don't need to do anything and stuff's just handed to you on a silver platter. Well, that is true, and I'll explain my story about how that happened to me when I talk about this image in a moment. It's not always true because imagine what you want is this lake house. And you're like, oh, I'm going to sit on my couch and I'm going to meditate and I'm going to pray over it. I'm going to manifest. I'm going to think positive thoughts. I'm going to visualize this house every day, all day long for the next 25 years. But you never leave your couch. It is highly unlikely that someone will walk into your house and say, here's the deed to your lake house, because you need to take action. You have to be willing to take action towards what you want to create. So, if what you want is a lake house, you should probably figure out which lake. You should probably go look at houses. Maybe make a list of your wants and needs in a house. You should go, or you could go, get a mortgage broker or whatever. You get a real estate agent. Like, there are steps that you can take in the 3D world that make it more likely for you to get this lake house you desire. Even renting a lake house and pretending for a week that you live there permanently is an action step you can take that helps you manifest your dream. And the reason is because when you take one step towards your dream and you've been visualizing it and you have no resistance, you've done the process I'm going to teach you about today. What happens is your dream can take 1,000 steps towards you. And this is what happened in relationship to my clinic. So this picture is my husband and I high-fiving in front of my clinic that I opened a couple years ago, my wellness center. And what I wanted is I had this dream for many years to open a wellness center. And I was not taking action because it felt big and scary, and I didn't know. I The idea of having a brick and mortar felt overwhelming, and it felt like a lot of risk. And but I'd had this dream for years, and I had a coach that said, so why don't you open your wellness center? As a frame of reference, it was May 5th, 2020. So in Denver, where I live, wellness centers were barely struggling to reopen. So the idea of opening a brick and mortar seemed like a liability. And I gave her 10 minutes of excuses of why I can't open a wellness center. And she very lovingly looked at me and said, that's great. What was your excuse 6 months ago? Feeling really called out, I took her opportunity to step into a challenge. And I was like, she was like, take one action step in the 3D world towards manifesting this clinic. And so I meditated, I reflected, and I decided I could help. I have great project management experience. I could help another struggling wellness practitioner open their clinic. And if I help them open it, maybe they, in exchange for me managing the personal protective equipment and the new paperwork and the regulations, they could mentor me in how to open a wellness center and teach me about things like sales tax and all the stuff I didn't know about. So I was like, that's what I decided was my clarity of what I wanted to do. So how do you get a job? I wrote a resume, and I started writing this resume detailing all of the project management experience that I have and all of the reasons why you should hire me if you were a chiropractor, wanting support and things like that. And a couple days later, I found myself in a Polka Dot Powerhouse Connect, like 3 or 5 days after I half wrote this resume. I ended the call to this woman, well, how can I support you? And she said, well, I'm moving to Arizona, but I'm keeping my clinic open in Denver. Do you know anybody who wants to manage a wellness center? Hmm, maybe. Tell me more. Oh, and I skipped a step is I decided I wanted this wellness center to fit in my lifestyle. I wanted it to be within 15 minutes of my house. I wanted it to be 3 to 5 hours a week. And I wanted this person to be deeply invested in my success because I was going to be deeply invested in showing up for them in their business. And so I asked her, I was like, tell me more. And she said, well, it's 14 minutes from your house. It's 3 to 5 hours a week. And I want somebody that specific unit, 103, had been a wellness center for 16 years. And she's like, I want whoever, like the ideal candidate, whenever they're done. I close my business in Denver and move it fully to Arizona in like 1 or 2 years. I want them to open their own wellness center in the same spot. And I was like, oh my gosh, it's me. And so she hired me on the spot. That's how I got my wellness center. She sold when she was complete. She sold me the equipment. She sold me the furniture. We literally signed the lease over, like did a transfer of lease into my name. Like it was so easy peasy for me to open my own business in that spot. But here's the thing I want to tell you. The action I took of writing a resume ended up having nothing to do with how I got that opportunity. But that was the action step I took in the 3D world that showed basically the universe I was A, serious, and B, ready to activate this. And just that one action step I took, my dream took 1,000 action steps towards me and was literally handed to me on a silver platter. And the reason why this is so important is how many times in your life have you been wanting to create a result, looking for the perfect how? I know that I sat in this spot when I was trying to hit the first $100,000 in my business. I spent probably 2 years chasing my tail, trying to figure out new marketing strategies. Oh, I'm going to learn. It's going to be TikTok. Oh, no, it's Pinterest. Oh, no, it's this other thing. Oh, you need to start a membership. All of these things. And I spent 2 years chasing my tail, trying to figure out the perfect plan that was going to get me $100,000. Where in reality, all you need to do is take, instead of, searching out this information outside of you, all you need to do is take the best action step that you can think of right now. That's it. And that's what I did at the time because write a resume was the only thing I could think of. And just the act of doing that is what created the reality I desired. So, a little bit about the science of manifesting, and then we'll go into how this applies to manifesting money. So everything is energy, and that's all there is to it. Albert Einstein said that, and I'm willing to trust him as an expert in quantum physics. And if everything is energy, that means each thought, each belief, each emotion creates its own energy. And as a frame of reference, you have 80,000 thoughts a day. You can have tens of thousands of beliefs at any given time, and they just keep adding up more and more. The older you get, the more beliefs you're going to have. And then there's 128 emotions, and you can cycle through every single one of them multiple times a day. So all of those are creating energy around you, which is actually creating together this energetic field, which Heart Math has created this image. They've actually mapped out what it looks like. So this is your energy field that's created by your thoughts and your beliefs and your emotions. And this energy field greets people before you ever do. This energy field is what's doing the manifesting for you. And this is what gets very complicated around money because, yes, you have 80,000 thoughts a day on average, but 90% of those thoughts are the same thoughts you had yesterday. And 90% of those thoughts are the same thoughts you had yesterday. And 90% of those thoughts. And so you can see that basically, even though you're having a lot of thoughts that each have an energy, you are basically bathing in the energy of the past as you step forward into the future each day. You are just reactivating the past, which is why whatever you've experienced around money, whether that's no matter what I do, I can never seem to change my financial situation, or that's called a stuck, the structure around money is stuck, or I make a bunch of money and then my car breaks down. I make a bunch of money and then I lose a bunch of money. I make a bunch of money and then I have a bunch of medical bills. This is an oscillating structure when it comes to money. But whatever pattern you've had in the past just follows you around day to day until you do something to interrupt that energetic pattern, which again is doing all of the manifesting for you in your life. And so I use neuroscience to interrupt those patterns, basically sever the ties to the past so you can step into the future. But yes, heart math proved that you have this energetic field. And again, when I'm talking about, it's like attracts like. So when you're having thoughts, I'm having a bad day, you're putting thoughts, beliefs, and emotions out about a bad day. So you're attracting more things that are the same that are going to give you a bad day. Thankfully, the same is true when you're having a good day, when you're like, I'm on cloud nine, everything is going really well. Your thoughts and your beliefs and emotions are aligning to attract more things to you that will keep you having a good day. And if like attracts like, then love attracts love. And this image is the most important image. And in fact, I literally keep a printout on my desk handy all the time because this is the most powerful image when it comes to manifesting. And so, like, just kind of memorize as best as you can what emotion you want to be in and what emotion you feel like you're in right now. And so just notice that each emotion has its own frequency. So this is the map of consciousness. I call it the color chart of emotions. It was created by Dr. David Hawkins in a book called Power versus Force. Great book you should read if you're curious on how he made this or the frequencies of emotions. But notice that each emotion has a specific number or hertz, a frequency associated with it. So shame is 20, fear is 100, willingness is 310, love is 500, joy is 540, peace is 600. There's no such thing as a good or a bad emotion, but emotions you probably want to be spending more of your time in have a higher level of energy associated with them, and they attract higher level things. So when I was in the honeymoon stage of my relationship with my husband, my life was spectacular. You know why? I was walking through my life with the thoughts, the beliefs, and the emotions of love. So guess what I was attracting? More things that made me love my life. During that time, I got a promotion in a job. They had said I would never have any promotion capability. Everybody wanted to be my friend. People would call me out of the blue and take me out to dinner, and I received money unexpectedly. All these cool things were happening because I was in this high vibrational energy. My frequency was at 500, and I'm just going to say what this says. Once you get to 500, you actually dissolve negativity in your field. That's not saying it won't come back later, but once you get, this is the flash point where the negative energies and these low frequencies and low emotions start to truly melt away, is when you get to a frequency of 500. So, and like I said, you have to take action in your life, but generally speaking, when you're in these higher level places, you're going to attract better things to you. And one of the things that's the most interesting is you might notice the most powerful emotion ever is actually not on this chart. The most powerful emotion is gratitude, and that is measured at a frequency of 900 hertz. Interesting enough for this conversation is, you know what the frequency of abundance is? 888 hertz. So they're only 12 apart. They're actually the two. I know abundance is an emotion, but it's a feeling. When you feel abundant, you feel like you're in overflow. Those are the two closest emotions in frequency. So anytime that you're in a negative emotion and you're ready to transform and pull yourself out, and again, there's nothing wrong with fear or grief or anger or anxiety, or there's nothing wrong with any of these emotions inherently. But when you're complete with feeling them and you're ready to transform, spending time in gratitude pulls your emotional frequency up for however long you're in the gratitude to 900. The more you practice your gratitude day after day after day, the longer you're going to stay in this frequency of 900. And you literally, what we call raise your vibration, is like the, common conversational way to say when you are in gratitude, you want to pull yourself up this emotional chart. But when it comes to abundance, the more time you spend in gratitude, the more time you are automatically in the frequency of abundance because they are so close. So, and I just, when the more abundance you want in your life, the more time you spend in gratitude for the abundance and overflow you already have. Because guess what? we live in a naturally abundant universe. You have an abundance of air, you have an abundance of fresh water in a first world country, you have an abundance of opportunities to network and learn things and jump on webinars like this. You have we like, you can plant one seed and over time you grow an entire forest. We live in a naturally abundant universe. So all we need to do is unblock our flow and connection to that natural level of abundance. So the quantum physics that explains this, I'm going to go really quick because most of you have probably heard this, or you can look it up. In 1927, they did the double slit experiment, and what that was is they wanted to know the shape of an electron. And by the way, these images on the right hand side are at the same level of magnification. Like, it's not a trick where one is zoomed in more than the other, but they wanted to know what an electron looked like. So scientists created this machine that fired an electron through a single gold leaf of paper that had two slits in it and onto photoreactive paper, which is the image you see right now, is a photoreactive paper on the right. And they were so excited. They turned it on and they was firing electrons. They were watching it. It showed up as observed. This is a particle pattern. And then after a while, they needed to go to lunch. So they turned on the machine. They left for lunch. They came back. And even though they'd repeated this experiment again and again, curiously, when they weren't watching it, it showed up as not observed. This is a wave pattern, which is a totally different shape of electron. And so for 97 or 98 years, they have been recreating this experiment again and again to understand around manifestation, like how and why does it work? Like when does it shift and change? And so they realized when they were watching it live time, it shows up as observed. So then they had animals, robots, computers, AI watch live time, and while no humans were watching, and it shows up as not observed. They made recordings of the electron firing machine and had a human watch it later. It showed up as not observed. And the most curious part of this is distance doesn't matter. So when they turned on the electron firing machine, they had somebody on the other side of the world watching the results on a live stream. And even though that person was like 3,000 or 5,000 miles away, they actually were able, the electron firing machine knew it was being watched and showed up as observed, even though the observer was on the other side of the world. So what does that mean around manifestation is electrons act differently when they're observed by a human consciousness. So let's pull that out and extrapolate it into manifestation. Your consciousness affects matter and changes the outcome in the 3D world outside of you. So the more you're able to focus on what you want to create and maybe shift your thoughts, your behaviors, and your emotions, you actually change the outcome. So let's bring this back to the idea of manifesting more money. If you want to manifest more money, but you don't change anything, you don't look at your bank account, you literally change nothing, the likelihood of you just suddenly making a lot more money is pretty non-existent. But if you take the effort to learn more about how money works, because let me tell you, wealthy people understand how money works. And maybe you go to a Money 101 class, or you understand, how to use compound interest. You end up paying off a credit card and then investing that using compound interest to your benefit instead of to your detriment. You start changing the emotions of how you feel about money. You start changing the way you internally talk about money to yourself and outside of yourself. You change your spending habits or behaviors. You're actually increasing the likelihood that you're going to attract more abundance because you've shifted how you are consciously focusing on money and you're taking different actions. So, what actions are you taking or not taking around money? Taking actions like this is not a time for judging yourself. This is just an open-hearted conversation. I like to say open-hearted curiosity with yourself. If what you want, and I'm assuming because this is what you got here for, is to create more abundance, are you taking intentional actions to grow your money and generate maybe more sales in your business, or sell more widgets or whatever at your job, or get a different job that makes more money? Like, are you taking intentional actions to grow your money or grow your business? Are you practicing being smart around money, which is, again, learning how money works, educating yourself about different ways that you could retire? So, like, for example, I have a financial planner. I had my retirement in like a traditional 401k, and she was like, that is not where you're going to make money. And so she sat down with me and taught me how, if I move this money, which is already invisible to me, and just put it in a different type of account, I can quadruple the amount of money it is earning over time. So that is me. That was me taking an action, being smart with my money. And again, don't judge yourself. It's just be with whatever the answers to these questions are. And again, learning more about how money works and not taking actions is avoidance. Are you waiting for sales or clients to come to you? Are you waiting for, you're like, well, I'm thinking about, manifesting more money, but I want the universe to deliver it to me and I want the clients to find me. If you're not taking intentional action in sales, you're avoiding sales in your business. And by the way, not taking action is also an action. So, are you relying on other people to handle money for you? That was one of the big things I got really clear about a couple years ago is I had this philosophy, well, my husband's smart, he's an engineer and he just will handle all the money for us. And when I decided that I wanted to create more abundance for myself, I wanted to create and attract more abundance and make more money in my business, one of the action steps I got really clear on is I didn't understand, like, I started learning about sales tax and tax liability and what do I need to do and how do I play the tax game in my business to make less, or to pay less money to the government and make more money. And then we started talking about, okay, cool. Like, I learned more. Instead of just trusting that he was taking care of things, we started having more dialogue about how are we investing our money? What are we doing? Planning things out, budgeting far in advance. And I am now equally responsible for that instead of just assuming somebody else is going to take care of it for me. So if you want to attract more, if you want to attract more abundance, you need to improve your relationship with money. Simple and easy. And like, because oftentimes, if money was a long lost lover, or let me say that, if money just showed up on your doorstep and said, knocked on it, what's the first thing you would say to it? Oftentimes it's like, well, finally you're here, or that's not enough. Like, that's what you're saying when money is coming to you. That's the relationship you have with money. So instead of treating money like a long lost lover that you're so excited to see and you just welcome with open arms, you are judging it as not enough. You're saying negative things. And let me just tell you, you do have a relationship with money. Money is your longest standing relationship in your life because you have a relationship with money even in utero before you're born. Whatever energy your parents have around money is the energy you're being bathed in around money. And then eventually when your parents pass away, you are still in a relationship with money. So money is the longest standing relationship in your life. And if you're treating it like a deadbeat or somebody that's not enough and you're judging it and you're mean to it, it's not going to come around as often. So, how do you talk about money? Do you say things like, noticing the words, are you constantly saying it's not enough? And this is one thing, if you walk away from this presentation with one thing, I never, ever, ever want you to say, my encouragement is to never say again, I can't afford it. Instead, saying, I am choosing not to invest in that right now. Because when you say you can't afford it, there is an energy of scarcity. There's an emotion. The thought is about scarcity. The emotion is about scarcity. All of these things are going out, and you're casting a net that you'll never be able to afford it. And when you're intentional in spending your money, even if all you have is $5 and you truly could not afford to give that $5 to somebody else, just by saying, I am choosing not to invest in that relationship or invest in that thing right now, you are shifting your relationship with money. You're shifting and taking back empowerment and control. And it's now a choice. Instead of I can't afford that means the money is making the decision for you. You have no power in the situation. And just by shifting your language from I can't afford that to I'm choosing not to invest in that right now, you are taking that power back on you. So you can also upgrade your attitude and gratitude around money. And so, if you want a simple, fast, and easy way to upgrade your attitude and gratitude around money, neuroscience is the answer. Neuroscience is always the answer to get wherever you want to go faster and easier, in my opinion, because you can kind of short circuit. It can take weeks, months, years to shift and change a belief. But I can help you with neuroscience. I can help you change a belief in as little as 15 minutes, which is really cool. And I'll again talk about that in the end, how I do that for people all of the time. But I'm actually, because of thank you for attending today. For 2 weeks, I'm giving you access to a recording that will change your belief around money for you. All you need to do is commit to listening to it. And you can instantly improve your relationship with money in that, I forget, it's like 10 minutes, 12 minutes, 20 minutes, whatever it is. In that duration of that recording, you will have a better relationship with money. It uses an NLP process called perceptual shift, which is literally allowing you to see the world through money's eyes and basically get compassion and shift the language you're using, the emotions you're having, the beliefs you're having around money. And so basically, you're getting an upgrade for your beliefs, your thoughts, and your emotions. And you'll know, like, from the beginning till the end, you'll be able to feel differently about money. Like, you are aware that you feel different, you're thinking different about money, and it becomes easier to do things like implement and shift different language around money. So you're going to get a recording emailed to you of this neuroscience-based process. I really encourage you, maybe even right now, to mark some time on your calendar, maybe up to 30 minutes, so you can do the process and then reflect on it, and maybe then take some action steps, because remember, action is key. But I encourage you, before this presentation or immediately after this presentation, to put 30 minutes on your calendar so you can listen to this recording. And that's just my gift to you. So now we're going to go really briefly through the major challenges and solutions to manifesting more money. And these are in no particular order. It kind of makes a logical progression. So just notice which of these might be the step that you're kind of getting hung up on, because these are the four major challenges. Of course, there are other things, but these are the four major challenges around manifesting more money. We get too attached to the outcome and or the specific path. And what that sounded like for me is my manifestation power statement was, I want to make more money in my business. And so what that caused me to do, when I was so attached to the path, and I did own two businesses, I'm the only way I have to make money is, getting money through those two businesses is what I thought. And so when I was working on manifesting more money, I had these binoculars on, and I was only looking at my coaching business was making a lot more money than my wellness center. And so I was only looking at the money in my coaching business, and it didn't change instantly. So within, I don't know, a day, a week, I started wobbling in my emotion, and now I had fear. And instead of being in this place of love and joy and gratitude, I started falling down into fear in these emotions. And so that just told the universe, I really told the universe is a spiritual way to say it, but my vibration, my emotion, my frequency I was putting out was scarcity and fear. So guess what I attracted? More scarcity and fear. And then my business slowed down even more, but it's only because I was so binoculared on this idea that I can only make money in my business. So what I did is I dropped the in my business, and I just said, I choose to receive more money. And I started doing and noticing and celebrating every time I would find a penny on the sidewalk. Yes, one penny closer to where I want to be. And I remember cleaning my desk in the very beginning, and I was tracking all of this money, and because I had a belief money wasn't flowing to me. And I was like, I never make any money. I only get paid one day in the month in my business. It's a whole hardship. And then I have to like budget and eat ramen for the last week, this whole thing. And when I decided, I committed, I'm going to shift my mindset around money. I found 17 cents on my desk, and I celebrated that 17 cents. And then a week later, I found $1 on the sidewalk, and I just started celebrating. And that is putting myself in the emotion of gratitude, happiness, and the frequency of abundance. So guess what I started attracting? More abundance, because I was grateful for and celebrating the penny I found on the sidewalk. And then I started, and then it was like, it just kept getting more and more. And people were just kept giving me money for no reason, which was very weird. I found $100 bill on the sidewalk 3 different times in a span of 3 months. Who finds $100 bill on the sidewalk once, let alone 3 times? But it's because I was attracting this money to me by letting go of the specific path and the way it needed to look and letting go of the outcome. So the reason I have this picture is you want to think about manifestation as like ordering in a restaurant. You want to be clear and specific what you want, but you don't want to be so micromanaging of the outcome that after you order your omelet with the wait staff, you follow the wait staff in the kitchen and you tell this chef how to make your omelet. You need to let go of the outcome, let go of the past, and assume that it's already happened, it's already coming to you, and trust that. And so I like to, every time I place my order to the universe or I think about what I want, I say this or something even better still. And I love that. Thank you so much for sharing that. Somebody said in the chat, I notice when I'm not in alignment, the money doesn't flow. Absolutely. And what alignment, and I'm getting ahead of myself because we're going to talk about alignment. I want abundance, but I'm practiced in living paycheck to paycheck, and I have beliefs around scarcity. If this was a fishing pole, this is not a very effective method to cast out your hook. What we need to do is get our emotions and our beliefs into alignment with what we consciously desire. And once our fishing pole looks like this, when we cast it out, we can hook out or like put a hook in our dream. And that's way when you take one action step towards your dream can take 1,000 steps towards you because you've energetically lassoed and hooked onto it and you're pulling it towards you. So, this is the number one reason why we block ourselves on money because you can only manifest a real desire. And a real desire is something you want because you want it. There's no other reason, there's no secondary intentions, there's no agenda behind it. So, guess what? Money is not a desire. And so if what you want is more money, you're chasing the how instead of like you're trying to figure out another way to say this is like you're chasing the vehicle instead of going in whatever vehicle you can get to the destination. Because you don't want money. If you wanted money, you would say things like, I just want to swim in a swimming pool of money. That's all I want. Like, you don't want the money because you want to travel, whatever. You want to bathe in the money. So, money is not a real desire. And when we're so focused, when I get the money, then I can XYZ. Then I'll be free. Then I'll travel. Then I'll do this thing. You're reinforcing a problem solving mindset, which is the number one thing that blocks you on manifesting anything at all, let alone money. So, when we're focused on the money, it's like saying I need a horse and buggy to get to my destination. I'm going to go from Denver to New York City and I'm looking for this horse and buggy and I'm walking around a parking lot filled with race cars that have full gas tanks and keys in the engine and I'm like I can't go anywhere because I don't see my horse and buggy. That's what we do when we focus on the money itself. So, you don't want money, you want whatever money's going to get you. So let's dig into that. What do you actually want? If you won $1 million today, but you can't pay off any debt, you can't invest it in a retirement account, you can't put it in another type of savings account. You have to, you have to pay it off in 1 week, and you can't give a penny of it to anybody else. What would you do? So if you feel like it, put in the chat, how would you spend your $1 million in a week if you can't pay off any debt, you can't give it away, and you can't invest it? What would you do with that money? And I'll give you just a moment to think about it. Take a bunch of cash and flow down over your body, then book a cruise, spend time traveling the world and hanging out with your sexy husband. Absolutely. And it's so what you don't want money, what you want is the cruise. What you want is traveling the world. What you want is spending time with the people you love. That's your real desire. And the good news is maybe not the cruise, but you can travel right now. And like this is when I was in a financial situation when I was getting my coaching business going. And I didn't really have an income. We traveled anywhere that was within an 8 hour drive of Denver, which thankfully there's a lot of cool things within an 8 to 10 hour drive of Denver. And um and so you can travel now. You can spend time with your loved ones now. Even if you can't afford to buy the lake house, you could rent one now. And so that's really one of the ways that you can manifest. You would travel, hire a coach, splurge on your loved ones. Just be thoughtful that remember you can't give it away. So like if you want to take everybody out to dinner because you want a nice dinner, you can pay for other people, but you can't pay for somebody else's college and all of that in this scenario. And I would get clear in the chat. I'd buy some things I would like, and then do some things with like travel with friends and family. But be clear, what is the exact thing? Are you going to buy an e-bike? Are you going to buy a whatever the thing is? So get crystal clear, because when you place that order to the universe, magic can happen. But you have to be clear in what you want. So like I would, when I win $1 million, not if, when I win $1 million, oh, you do have a list. Good. When I win $1 million, I would replace my entire wardrobe, which I've already been doing slowly because I know that that will help me manifest. I would book a bunch of travel, which I'm already doing. In 6 days, I'm going to Spain for 2 weeks, a little bit more than that. And I would buy investment properties. I'm actually already, even though I don't have the money for an investment property, we're already looking at, well, would we do something in Colorado? Would we do it in another country? Would it be in another state? We're already daydreaming and in conversations and talking about what does that real estate investment look like. So this is what I like to call the $1 million question. And so I love it. I'd rent out a brewery with all the bunch of friends, give everyone a gift basket, and have bands and merch and all of that. Well, maybe not giving away merch, but I actually, there's a couple different breweries I've rented out for free, because and you're not paying the brewery, because the people you're committing to bring X amount of people, and then basically the brewery is getting their money from the food and the drink that your friends and family are buying. So you can already rent a brewery tomorrow if you wanted to. So this is the $1 million question. And it is the $1 million question because however you answered that question, that's what you really want. You don't want more abundance. You think you want more abundance, but you don't, because abundance is not going to get you anything. What you want is whatever that money is going to get you: the brewery, the time with your friends and family, the travel, all of that. That's what you actually want. And I'm glad I didn't see any of this in the chat, but I just want to share with you. These are the 7 things that get us all hung up in manifesting abundance, because there are 7 things you can't manifest. And most of the time, when I ask people, why do you want more money? Not what would you buy? I asked you what you would buy, so you answered the question with what you would buy, but why do you want more money? What emotion will you have when you have more money? Just think about that for a minute. What emotion will you have when you have $1 million in your bank account? What emotion will you have? Or how will you feel is another way to say that. Because most of the time when people answer this question, the answer to that question, how will you feel when you have $1 million, is ends up in one of these 7 things that you can never manifest: joy, ease, gratitude, relief, gratitude. So there are 7 things you can't manifest. You also can't manifest gratitude, but that's not in my list, because gratitude is a beingness state you can have right now. You are either grateful or you are not grateful. You can't manifest gratitude, because you can be grateful for everything you have now, and then you can also be grateful for more. But just the fact that you think that gratitude will come in the future means that you can't be as grateful right now as when you have that money. So the 7 things that you can't manifest is, and this is because you can't manifest abundance from scarcity. If you The only way you could have these things is because you believed. The only way you can receive these things is because you believe you already have them. You can't, like, if you felt like you had these things already, you wouldn't, like, they wouldn't even be on your radar to manifest, because you already had them. So the 7 things you can't manifest are comfort, control, independence, freedom, safety, stability, and security. And I'll pause for a moment so you can write those down or take a screenshot. If you were already comfortable, you wouldn't want to manifest a comfortable life. If you weren't afraid, you wouldn't want to manifest more safety, control, stability, or security. If you were already free, you wouldn't want to manifest more freedom. And if you were independent, you wouldn't want to manifest independence. And so, when you, by the sheer act of you thinking, when I have money, then I will feel free, that's the thing that blocks you from manifesting money because you already are free. You are free to do what you want with your time. You're free to choose what food goes in your body. You're free. So there's already so many places you are free in your life. But the sheer fact that all we can see is I don't have the financial freedom I desire, we're discounting all of the freedoms we do have in our life and putting ourselves in the category of I don't have freedom. So then, therefore, if money is going to get you the freedom, you can't ever have money because you're a not free person. When in reality, you are. It's just how you see yourself. So the number three reason why we don't, or why it's challenging to manifest more abundance is we don't have the identity of a wealthy person yet. And if you thought you were wealthy or rich, you would already have the identity, you'd already have the money. So there's a story about a man in a boat, and this is a real life story from my mentor, and it's a perfect example of manifestation around this is there was a man in a boat and he was a high level entrepreneur and he had a beautiful lake house that he had worked really hard to get, but he didn't have a boat. And what he wanted was a $250,000 speedboat. And he worked really hard in his business. And every time he got close to having the money to put a deposit on the boat, something would happen. His car would break down, the machine would break down. If something happened in his business, he would lose all the money. He'd make it all, he would lose it all. He would make it all, he would lose it all. He spent 10 years trying to manifest this boat that he desired. And finally, he hired my mentor. And my mentor heard that whole story and said, cool, today you're going to go buy a kayak. And the guy's like, no, what you're not understanding. I don't spend I save every single penny to go towards this boat. And my mentor lovingly said, shut up and buy a kayak. And so this guy bought a kayak and he started going out every day on this kayak. And he realized his actual desire was not the boat. His desire was to be on the lake and experience the lake and have fun being on the lake. That's what he really wanted. And so as soon as he bought a kayak, things started to flow in his business and they just kept going and going and going. There was no pushback. And so in 18 months, he upgraded from a kayak to a dinghy to a motorboat to a power boat. I don't know boat levels, but he literally upgraded from a $500 boat to a $5,000 boat to a $25,000 boat to a $100,000 boat to a $250,000 boat in just 18 months. You know why? He just buying the kayak gave him the identity, I own a boat. It's not a mechanical boat, but I own a boat. So how does that apply to manifestation? Is focus on where you have what you want already. I kind of hinted towards this when I was talking about freedom. If you when you focus on the abundance you already have as a gratitude practice, which is something I will send to everyone with the recording of this call, my 6 ways to manifest more abundance. And I talk about how to do this practice, but it's basically feeling the emotions of the gratitude you already have. And I would lay in bed each day and be like, oh my gosh, I have an abundance of air. And I would just be grateful that I never once had to worry about having an abundance of air. It just was always there for me. And then I would think about, I already have an abundance of love for my dog, from my dog. And I would list all these things, but it's not about the listing of the things. It's about feeling the gratitude that I felt for having that infinite abundance, because I have an infinite abundance of love for my dog, from my dog, for my husband, and I came up with like 50 different things I had in abundance. So what was I doing? I was getting my frequency and my emotions in alignment with abundance, and I received more abundance. So there is also in that sheet, the resource I'm going to send you, an abundance tracking sheet. It's literally a Google sheet that you can make a copy of and use. And I teach you how and what to put in that. But by celebrating the abundance you already have and tracking every single penny on the sidewalk, you are celebrating that abundance that you already have. So those are the 2 practices that help build your identity as a wealthy person. So the number four reason that we can't manifest money is we think that having money will change something in our life. When we think that having money will change something, our subconscious is hardwired to keep us safe. And what is safe? Safe is repeating the past again and again and again and again, and just reliving it. And whatever level of money you've had in the past, until you interrupt this pattern, your subconscious will just recreate it again and again. So by letting go of the idea that money will change anything in your life is the way to manifest more money. So you can only manifest from a neutral place. And that's true for any manifestation. And when you're thinking about abundance, you're like, I need this money because I can't pay my rent or mortgage this month. That's a negative charge on money. And when you're like, I want this money because having this money means I'm free and I can do what I want, that's a positive charge on money. But either way, the having or not having of money changes your situation. It doesn't matter if it's a positive or a negative charge. You can't manifest money from either of those ways. You have to be in a neutral place where you could have $1 million or you could have $5 and you feel the same. Nothing changes in your life except maybe a nicer pair of shoes or whatever. Like, it doesn't fundamentally, the having of money doesn't fundamentally change you as a person, is what I'm getting at. And so again, need is a negative charge, want is a positive charge. So the number one block on manifesting is all of the trauma, the limiting beliefs, all of the head trash that we have around money, because you're already a manifesting machine. You're manifesting what you subconsciously believe that you deserve, not what you consciously want. And I'll say that again. You're already manifesting what you subconsciously believe that you deserve, not what you consciously want. And so when you're out of alignment, I want abundance, but I'm practicing living paycheck to paycheck. You are out of alignment. You're just gonna you're just gonna keep manifesting living paycheck to paycheck until you get your emotions and beliefs in alignment with your conscious desires. You can do that a variety of different ways. I do it with neuroscience. So, the mastery of manifestation is using this power statement. So, this is the most highly calibrated statement to manifesting more money. And you can, I choose to receive, or some people like the word attract. It doesn't matter. I choose to receive more abundance. I choose to attract more money. It doesn't really matter how you say receive or attract abundance or money, but it's really important that you say I choose to, attract, receive more abundance or more money. The choose is the most important part, and the more is the most important part, because the choose means it's my conscious desire, and then the more is acknowledging I already have some. I would like you can have a piece of pie and want more pie, please. Like, that's why those two are, that's the most powerful calibrated statement. So this is the question in being a master of manifesting money. Can you be in the emotional and energetic vibration and hold it of having abundance before you can see the results in your life? This is the hardest part about manifesting, is being able to be abundant when you only have $5 in your pocket. So this is what I do with my clients to support them, because when you can be and feel abundant, no matter how much money you have in the bank, that's when you become a money magnet. So hold the energy and the emotions through visualization of what you desire. And again, you're not visualizing anything around money. You're visualizing through what is money going to get me, that cruise, that time with my family, that, purchasing that list of things. You visualize them in your home, purchasing that party at a brewery, you visualize that. And I already said this, but can you feel abundant when you only have $5 to your name? That is a master manifester. And so, how to start manifesting? There are 4 simple steps, and these applies to everything, but it especially applies to money. Get clear on your real desire. What do you want because you want it? There's no reason behind it. Visualize it every day. And that's not just playing a movie in your mind. You need to get into the emotions. You need to feel what it's like to have those things that you desire. Like feel what it's like to be at that brewery with all of your friends and family. Like you need to feel those emotions and play with your senses as much as you can so you can smell and taste. You can smell the yeasty smell of the beer in a brewery. You can taste the beer. You can hear the music and you can hear your friends laughing and you hear the chinking of glasses as people cheer and you feel the hugs. That is visualization. It's not just playing the movie in your mind. That's where most people get visualization wrong. And by the way, if you are challenged with visualization, let's talk. I am a master at teaching people that can't visualize how to visualize. So, and the reason we do this is because the subconscious mind can't tell the difference between the media we consume, the movies we play in our mind, and reality. So, be very careful about the media that you consume and what are the themes around money in that. Be very thoughtful about programming your mind with images and playing movies that you desire around money because your subconscious can't tell the difference. And then the final step is releasing resistance. You can do this any old way. EFT, emotion code. I use neuroscience to do this with my clients. And then that's simply to say getting your beliefs and emotions in alignment with your desires. And then the fourth step is take action. And if you remember from my story about my wellness center, any action will do. So these are the four steps to start manifesting. But really, I would love to support you in becoming a manifesting machine because you're in a place right now where you're learning about how to manifest, which means you want abundance. Then when you start practicing regularly, you get to the place where you have abundance. And then when you master these practices and you are living the embodiment of manifestation, that's when you realize you are abundance itself and you are a magnet for everything you desire. So this is the journey I support my clients on going through, and because I would love to support you in becoming a manifesting machine. And there is a principle that the universe rewards quick action, and I acknowledge we're coming right up on time. I've got about a minute left till we're done. But the universe loves speed. So the quicker the speed from an idea of something you have to the time you implement it in your life, the increase in the success of whatever that thing is. So your dreams are waiting for you. Whatever you're thinking about, it's time to activate now. And the quicker you activate, the better, like the more success of the result, the quicker you get what you desire. So if you want to make the rest of 2025 and even into 2026 your best year yet, I would love to teach you how to be a manifesting machine. And you can do that by signing up for a free 30-minute manifesting machine discovery call. You can scan this right now and I will send the link in the recording as well. But it is a free 30-minute manifesting machine coaching session with me, normally valued at $197. I have very limited spots because I've actually, in 6 days, I've manifested one of my dreams. I'm going to go live on a yacht and sail around Ibiza to celebrate my birthday, something I manifested. So I have very limited spots available, and you need to book your call by Monday, September 8th. I do have a couple spots, like I have actually quite a few openings between now and then, before I leave, or I could see you right when I get back at the end of September. But basically, in this call, I'm going to teach you the steps that you need to take to become a manifesting machine. You're going to learn at least one tool you can use today to start manifesting more. And I will help share with you a roadmap of what you can do to manifest your desires moving forward. So, with that, I'll put the link in the chat and all of these things. I'll stop the recording, and I recognize we're at time, but I'm happy to open up for questions. And by the way, if you feel complete or if you need to go, you're welcome to hop off. I'm going to stop this screen share. All right. Any questions, any thoughts, any reflections? Yeah, you're so welcome. If anybody's curious, like I said, I have 3 spots and I'm sending this recording to 22 other people later today. So, anyways, if there's anything you're interested in, yeah, thank you. Thank you. If you feel complete, you're welcome to hop off. If you feel, oh, and here I'll stop the recording. If you